Neurodiversity and situational judgment tests. Now, this is important because situational judgment tests for some forms of neurodivergence have quite serious implications. And so we need to know and we need to share what we know about this issue. When it comes to everything but autism, situational judgment tests tend to be a decent option from a recruitment perspective, from a neurodivergence perspective. Candidates with dyslexia, for example, although they are very wordy, they're very reading comprehension loaded, they're untimed. And so they can take as much time as they need. Processing speed won't be an issue, and usually very compatible with screen readers and other sort of adjustments that you would need to make. And so it's reasonable to give candidates an SJT if they are, say, dyslexic. Dyscalculia, unlikely to have any impact. Dyspraxia, unlikely to have any impact. ADHD, unlikely to have any impact, although they can be quite long. And so some people may lose focus. But that's not the end of the world, especially if they're doing it remotely, because they can spend 20 minutes doing the assessment, log out, have a cup of tea, come back, continue. So not overloaded, not overwhelmed. Executive functioning can then recharge. It's not the end of the world, it works fine. The only concern that I have, and a lot of other people have, is the impact on autism and situational judgment tests. Now, many people with autism struggle with hypothetical situations. They tend to be very literal and very concrete. It is common. It is not a stereotype, it is a thing that does indeed occur in a great deal of autistic people. And a situational judgment test presents hypothetical scenarios, which everyone knows are not true, that are trivial situations, which you have to adopt that hypothetical role. They will tell you, you are a graduate trainee at a bank. You are a trainee manager at a supermarket. You are a customer service representative at a retailer, whatever. And candidates with autism will often struggle with that concept. And even worse, the response format matters a great deal as well. So you'll be given some sort of passage outlining the situation, a problem will arise, and then you'll be given a list of potential remedies to that situation. They may have to rate them, we may have to rank them, and the worst one is to ask, what would you do from this list? Pick one, which would you do? What happened, and in fact challenged legally, a candidate was given an assessment like this who had autism, and the question format said, which one of these would you do? And they said, well, I wouldn't do any of them. I'll tell you what I would do if you would let me tell you about it, but it's an automated test, it's at volume. The whole point is it's supposed to be scalable. And so they were told, no, just answer the questions properly, and then they answered them and failed, and then challenged and were successful. You can see how this can be a problem. And it is fundamentally, at its core, a problem, because for many roles it's okay if you're not super literalist. It's okay if you're very literalist and you're not super hypothetical. That's often not part of the job, but it's part of the selection process, and therefore it's hard to justify that being a requirement. And so if you are going to use situational judgment tests, be very careful, and perhaps if a candidate with autism comes along, say they don't need to do it. Let them through without having to do it, or use some sort of other assessment instead.